Imagine waking up tomorrow with a mind that is difficult to disturb. In this version of yourself, criticism no longer ruins your day, unexpected problems do not overwhelm you, and stressful situations feel manageable rather than unbearable. Instead of reacting with frustration or anxiety, you respond with calm, clarity, and control. Many people believe that this kind of mental strength belongs only to a rare group of individuals. They assume that resilient people were simply born that way, as if emotional stability and inner discipline were natural gifts rather than skills that can be learned. However, the Stoic philosophers believe something very different. They believe that a strong mind is not a gift, but a result of training. Just as the body becomes stronger through repeated physical exercise, the mind becomes stronger through consistent mental practice. More than 2,000 years ago, Stoic thinkers such as Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca developed practical methods for building resilience, clarity, and emotional stability. Their philosophy was not designed to remain an abstract set of ideas discussed only by scholars. Instead, Stoicism was meant to be practiced in daily life. It was intended to help ordinary people deal with criticism, loss, uncertainty, failure, and the countless frustrations that life inevitably brings. 1. One of the most important Stoic principles begins with a simple but powerful observation. Some things are within your control, and other things are not. Although this idea appears obvious at first glance, many of our daily frustrations come from forgetting it. We spend enormous amounts of time worrying about things that we cannot influence. We worry about how other people perceive us, we replay mistakes from the past that cannot be changed, and we become anxious about outcomes that depend on factors far beyond our control. The Stoics believe that this habit weakens the mind. When your sense of peace depends on events and opinions that you cannot control, your emotional stability becomes fragile. However, when you focus your attention on what is truly within your control, your actions, your effort, your values, and your response to events, you begin to develop a far more stable mindset. To understand this more clearly, imagine two people who receive criticism at work. The first person immediately takes the criticism personally and begins to interpret it as an attack on their competence or worth. Their thoughts quickly spiral into negative conclusions, and they start believing that everyone must see them as incapable. In contrast, the second person approaches the same situation differently. Instead of reacting immediately, they pause and examine the situation more calmly. They recognize that they cannot control the opinion that was expressed, but they can control how they respond to it. As a result, they listen carefully, extract any useful information, and focus on improving their work rather than defending their ego. This small mental shift can protect a person's peace of mind in countless situations. The Stoics train themselves to ask a simple question whenever they encounter difficulty. Is this within my control? If the answer was yes, they directed their energy toward constructive action. If the answer was no, they practiced letting it go. By repeating this habit consistently, they gradually trained their minds to remain calm even when circumstances became difficult. The Stoics also believed that much of human suffering comes not from events themselves, but from the interpretations that our minds attach to them. When something goes wrong, we often react by creating dramatic narratives around the event. A delayed train becomes proof that the entire day is ruined. A mistake becomes evidence that we are incompetent. A disagreement becomes a sign that relationships are falling apart. However, events themselves are often neutral. The suffering appears when our minds add judgment, exaggeration, and fear. For this reason, Stoic philosophy emphasizes the importance of training the mind to observe situations more objectively. An untrained mind reacts automatically and emotionally, while a trained mind pauses, reflects, and chooses a response deliberately. 2. The Stoics developed several daily practices that help strengthen this mental discipline. One of the most important of these practices is daily reflection. Many Stoic thinkers believe that the end of the day provides an ideal moment for reviewing one's actions and thoughts. During this quiet moment, they would examine their behavior with honesty and curiosity rather than harsh self-criticism. A simple version of this practice involves asking 3 questions before going to sleep. First, you might ask yourself what you did well during the day. Second, you might consider what you could have handled better. Third, you might decide what you will improve tomorrow. By repeating this reflection regularly, you gradually become more aware of your habits and reactions. Over time, this awareness allows you to correct mistakes more quickly and reinforce positive behaviors. 3. Another powerful Stoic exercise is known as negative visualization. Despite its name, the purpose of this exercise is not to encourage pessimism. Instead, it helps cultivate gratitude and resilience. The Stoics occasionally imagined losing things that they valued, such as comfort, status, or familiar routines. By briefly considering how life might look without these things, they reminded themselves not to take them for granted. This exercise also prepares the mind for unexpected difficulties. Life inevitably contains moments of loss, change, and disruption. When a person assumes that everything will always remain stable, sudden challenges can feel overwhelming. However, when the mind has occasionally contemplated the possibility of hardship, it becomes easier to remain calm when difficulties arise. In this way, negative visualization strengthens both gratitude and emotional resilience. 4. The Stoics also practiced what they called voluntary discomfort. From time to time, they deliberately chose small challenges that made life slightly less comfortable. For example, they might eat simple meals instead of luxurious food, take cold baths, or walk long distances rather than using transportation. These actions were not acts of self-punishment. Instead, they served as reminders that comfort is not necessary for happiness. When people become accustomed to constant convenience and comfort, even minor difficulties can feel unbearable. Voluntary discomfort helps reverse this pattern. By occasionally exposing yourself to manageable challenges, you train your mind to tolerate discomfort without fear. Gradually, you begin to realize that you are capable of enduring far more than you previously believed. 5. Another important aspect of Stoic mental training involves controlling one's attention. In the modern world, countless distractions compete for our focus every day. Social media platforms, news cycles, and endless digital notifications constantly attempt to capture our attention. The Stoics understood that attention is one of the mind's most valuable resources. Whatever repeatedly occupies your attention eventually shapes your thoughts and emotions. For this reason, a Stoic approach to life involves protecting one's attention carefully. Instead of allowing every distraction to dominate the mind, a disciplined person deliberately directs their focus toward meaningful work, learning, reflection, and relationships. This conscious use of attention helps cultivate clarity and prevents the mind from becoming overwhelmed by unnecessary noise. 6. The Stoics also encourage people to change the way they think about obstacles. When difficulties appear, many people instinctively respond with frustration and resentment. They ask why misfortune always seems to target them. However, the Stoics believe that obstacles can become opportunities for developing character. A delay may provide an opportunity to practice patience. Criticism may provide an opportunity to practice humility. Failure may provide an opportunity to develop resilience and persistence. When you begin to view difficulties as training rather than punishment, challenges lose much of their power to discourage you. The life of Marcus Aurelius provides a powerful example of this mindset. Although he ruled one of the most powerful empires in history, he faced constant political pressure, military conflict, and personal hardship. Yet his writings reveal a man who continuously reminded himself to remain disciplined, calm, and focused on what truly mattered. In his private reflections, he repeatedly emphasized that a person cannot control external events, but can always control their response to them. This simple idea forms the heart of Stoic mental training. The world will always contain uncertainty, setbacks, and unexpected events. However, the mind can learn to meet those events with stability rather than panic. Anyone can begin practicing these ideas. You can start by pausing before reacting emotionally to difficult situations. You can remind yourself to focus only on what lies within your control. You can reflect briefly at the end of each day to learn from your experiences. You can practice gratitude by imagining life without certain comforts. You can strengthen your resilience by occasionally choosing small challenges that test your discipline. None of these habits require extraordinary talent or intelligence. What they require is consistency. Mental strength develops gradually through repeated effort, just as a physical strength develops through repeated exercise. The Stoics never promised a life free from hardship. Instead, they offered something more valuable: the ability to face life with courage, patience, and clarity. When you train your mind regularly, you begin to notice a subtle but powerful change. Situations that once felt overwhelming become manageable. Problems that once triggered anxiety become opportunities for growth. Over time, you realize that the greatest source of stability in life does not come from controlling the world around you. It comes from learning to master the world within your own mind. And once that training begins, it becomes one of the most valuable investments you can make in your life. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe so that you're notified immediately when new, life-changing content is out. It is also recommended that you share this video with your friends who may also benefit from these timeless Stoic principles. Thank you.